Hi and welcome to Bandwidth Blog TV, and today we have a very special or interesting camera, the Fujifilm XF1. And with me is Dawie Verwey from Flat Art Studios, and he's a professional photographer. And I asked him to say, listen, check out this camera and let's do a quick review. So this is the first time Dawie really handled the camera and checked it out, checked the specs. So Dawie, what are your first thoughts about this camera?
Well, the first thing is it looks really cool. You know, it's retro, very hipster. You know, the type of guy who likes this also has like a single speed bicycle. He likes hats.
Yeah, it's a very hipster thing, isn't it?
Yeah, he likes old clothes.
Yes.
And he has a beard. But otherwise, it's a really lovely looking camera. The first thing you notice is, where do you switch it on? I would go, hey, what about the shutter button? That doesn't work. Maybe this big red button. No, maybe the button that actually shows a switch. No, that also doesn't work. So then with further fiddling, you realize, you can pull the lens out. You don't turn it, you pull it, which is strange. And then it switches on.
So it's basically, if I understand, it's a three-step system to actually just put on the camera.
Yeah, you have to pull and turn. That's two, actually.
Two.
Maybe three when you
I actually think there's a final click there. So it's 1, 2, 3.
Oh yes, there is a click. Okay,
so it's 3 steps just to put on your camera, which is, well, if you don't really want your friends to fiddle around with your camera, it'll take them hours to figure this out.
Yes, which is great, so you won't have unwanted footage.
Yes.
Yeah, otherwise, I like this manual zoom. I think it's really cool. I wish I could have just looked through the lens, and then it would feel like a camera.
Yeah, so you kind of, the moment you touch the zoom lens, you kind of want that viewfinder to be part of the camera.
Yeah, the camera has all the allure of an old rangefinder camera like the Leicas. So the moment you touch it, it's like, yes, you want to do that whole camera thing, and then when you start using it, you realize it's a bit more just like a compact camera with a manual zoom. So it's nice, but for me, I would have loved the EVF. But I think this is also the differentiation in their brand when it comes to the more expensive cameras, where you get the EVF and you get a different lens. And yes, coming to the lens, something else I would change. The zoom is great, but the aperture that changes is quite annoying. It starts at a lovely f1.8 on the wide angle. Nice and fast, f1.8 is brilliant, fast lens. But when you zoom in, we go all the way down to f4.9, which is basically a 5.6. That's about, what's that, 300% less light, 400% less light.
So it just becomes darker while you zoom in, isn't it?
Basically, and that means shutter speeds change, most of your settings change, so you have to fiddle a bit more.
So if I understand, Fujifilm decided, listen, let's find a solution to this, and to change the ISO, so you get full ISO on, no, you get actually least ISO on 12 megapixels, but you have to go down to 6 megapixels to increase the ISO.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like what you call pixel binning. I think it's called pixel binning, where they use data from more than one pixel to be able to get you a proper value that's not full of noise. So it's similar to what Nokia does in their 41 megapixel camera, phone camera, that uses all the other pixels to get one proper pixel of color information that's good.
So tell me more about the filters. Now, Fujifilm really pride themselves about the history that they come from and their film cameras. And there's a few filters on there that kind of simulates film, isn't it?
Yes, it comes with, I think, Valve, a few of my favorite, most beloved films that I've ever shot on long ago. It's got also a lovely function at the back that you can quickly get to it. I think it's quite ergonomic. So it's got Valvia, which was one of my best landscape films ever. A film called, I think, Astia and Provia.
Wow.
They just give you different. Valvia was very punchy. Provia was made for just like products. Astia was for skin tone. So you get all the nice looking values that you would get that you remember from the film days in camera, but that's obviously only in your JPEG. The RAW file will just have the raw information, and it depends on how Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw or Capture One, whichever one is compatible, processes it.
Now, the small handheld cameras are fighting to stay alive with the mobile technology in mobile phones, camera increasing, quite quickly.
Yeah.
How does this compare, and how does this price comparison with other handheld cameras in its class?
I think this one is quite unique. It actually has most of the specs of a more affordable point-and-shoot camera. It's got a slightly bigger chip, which is nice. The lens isn't bad, seeing that it starts quite fast, but it ends slow. But I think they've aimed it at someone who is a bit of an enthusiast, but not a full-on photographer. And he wants something that's a bit better looking. It's just something that's a bit more unique. So it's definitely priced. It's got a premium price. I think it comes at
4,500 Rand to about 5,000 Rand.
So that's quite a bit for a compact camera.
Yes.
So the advantage it has over a normal compact camera that you'll get in the 2 to 3 grand range is probably definitely the fact that it shoots raw.
Okay.
So that means you can get more data from your raw file, and you can do much more from it. The JPEG has all the colors burnt in. You can't edit it too much, else it starts to fall apart.
Okay.
So I think raw just gives it that little bit of an edge, but it's not yet that camera that Henry Cartier or Besson would like to go out with, or would go out with back in the day. It's not the type of camera I would maybe just put in my pocket to a party. But I wouldn't, if I had to pick and go travel and have a second camera, I would probably pick something that has a bit more flesh around it.
Okay.
But those also come at a even more premium price.
Yes.
At least I think the cameras in that range are about 2 grand more expensive. So I think for what it does, I think it's probably, I think the price is probably right for what it is.
Yes.
I think.
So, if you should give it a mark out of 10,
I would give it a 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah.
So it's 7.5 from a professional photographer for the Fujifilm XF1. There we go. And if you want more information, go visit bandwidthblog.com.